we're fortunate enough for our Master of Ceremonies today to have Bob Brown. He's the afternoon host of The Locker Room on ESPN Radio 1017, and he's been a part of New Mexico sports now for probably 3 decades going on. So for a long time, whenever I was a 14-year-old, I remember Bob Brown at Manal High School football games. So I'm pleased to introduce you today to our Master of Ceremonies, Bob Brown. If we give him a hand.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I don't know, 3 decades. Close, Adam. But yeah, I want to thank Adam and everybody from YAFL to invite me to come out today. Yeah, I remember, I don't know, early 90s. What was it? What year was that? 92? 91. Adam Cherry standing over there on the sideline, and I used him for my opening shot of the highlights because he looked like he was about 8 years old, had a big helmet on, shoulder pads, he's just waiting to get in. And now look at him, great guy, and he's started lifting the weights and getting big and walked on at UNM and really turned himself into a fine young man, that's for sure. So Adam said that I've been here for a while and worked at Channel 7 for those of you that were around long enough. 18 years at Channel 7. I came here in 1990. And then after about 25 years of television, I decided, I'm just tired of television, I got to get into radio. So for the last 8-9 years, I've been doing a sports talk show on ESPN Radio 1017, The Team. People ask me, what's the difference between TV and radio? Wear shorts to work every day, don't have to shave every day, don't wear makeup. I save the makeup for guys like Mark Schlereth now, TV guys, and the hairspray. So that's one of the best parts about it. But really the best part about it is being able to talk to sports guys and women that enjoy sports. They call in. If you haven't heard my show, it's on at 4 o'clock, 4 to 7 every afternoon here in Albuquerque on ESPN Radio. And you call in, I don't hang up on people. We just talk sports like guys like to talk sports. So it's been a lot of fun, but basically 27 years of covering sports here in town. So seen a lot of the different coaches. I don't know how many of you have been to a clinic like this before. How many of you, this is the first time you've been to something like this? Yeah, well, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's entertaining, informative, and really it's fun. That's what it's supposed to be about. If you're not having fun, then why are you doing it? So I think that's something to always keep in mind, that you're having fun. I've always had fun in my job, whether it was TV or radio. I talk to different groups, all the time, and of course on my show we're always talking. And right now I'll ask a question: who wins tonight? Cavs or Golden State Warriors? Seems like it. Golden State. So the Cavs need to win tonight or no? They can go back home. And how many Cowboy fans we got? How many Cowboy haters do we have? That's another question mark that here we always ask. How about them Cowboys? And when you have a 3-hour talk show, you just bring up the Cowboys, and people either love it or hate it, so they're going to call. So that's a good thing. So, you talk about coaches and all the coaches that I've had a chance to cover and interview and have on my show in the last, 9 years or so with the radio deal, which is a lot of fun, because during the TV days, you'd go out and you do a 20-minute interview with somebody, and then you go back to the station and you cut like 45 seconds maybe, right? So you're doing a 10 or 12-minute interview with somebody, and they probably tune in and go, hey, you did this long interview with me, and then they see like a 15-second clip of the interview. So you spend your time cruising around, going to all these different places, getting these long interviews. Now on the radio, hey, just call me up and we'll do a 15-minute interview. They call you up and you don't have to lug all the equipment around. But over the years, I had a chance to watch coaches and see how they do it. And I was never a coach. I was just a fan. I was a sports guy. I loved to watch games. And of course, we're all, the Monday morning quarterback, or we're all the coaches that, as Jim Mora would say, you think you know, but you don't know and you never will. Which is a great soundbite we use on the show all the time, because everybody thinks they know what the coach should have done. Just for the Lobo coaches, let me give you an example of what I recognized and saw over the years just with Lobo coaches. How many of you remember Mike Shepard, the Shepard years? Football was very, very bad at UNM at that time. They've had their spells of bad seasons. They turned things around here as of late. But I remember in 1990 when I showed up at UNM as a reporter for Channel 7, and I had worked in television for years before that, and I had covered Auburn University for 2 years during the Bo Jackson years when he won the Heisman Trophy at Auburn. I was covering the SEC. I was working at a TV station in Columbus, Georgia. So I saw how, man, Auburn football, that's some big-time football. And then I came out here, and I went to my first practice at UNM, Mike Shepard days, And they used to have these trees out there, kind of where the Brian Urlacher complex is now, the indoor practice facility there. They had these big row of trees that were there that kind of separated the stadium from the practice field. And the first thing just about every single player did when they went out to the practice field was they relieved themselves by the trees there. I mean, in full uniform, they'd come out there and they would all take a leak by the trees going on the practice field. And I thought, I think they lack a little discipline here. I would have never seen that at Auburn University. And I was thinking, well, and then, you know, that showed in how they prepared, how they played their games and what their records were and how it ended up costing Mike Shepard his job. They weren't very good. They didn't have a whole lot of discipline. Following on the heels of that, they hired Dennis Franchione. He was more of a CEO type guy. He ran it from the top down. It was like, hey, I'm the CEO. We have our position coaches. You have a problem, you go see your position coach, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get to my office and you'll have a chance to talk to me. That's how he ran it, a tight ship. Had a lot of success. He turned that thing around. He got him kind of moving in the right direction. He ended up moving on, getting another job. After that, it was Rocky Long came in. Former Lobo, tough-nosed guy. Offensive guy in college, but as a coach, he was a defensive guy. And what Rocky did was he put that chip on the shoulder of every single player. Nobody gives us any respect. Nobody thinks we're going to win. I'm going to find these diamonds in the rough. I'm going to turn these guys into hard-nosed, tough football players, and we're going to go out there and we're just going to beat people because we want it more than they do. You heard of a guy named Brian Urlacher? Mark, you heard of a guy named Brian Urlacher? That was one of those diamonds in the rough that nobody really wanted, a guy like Brian Urlacher. And if you missed the days of Brian Urlacher at UNM, probably saw him his days, you know, with the Chicago Bears killing people as the linebacker. But his days at UNM were absolutely fantastic. His last year, he was doing everything. He was playing that Lobo position, linebacker, running around. They put him out at wide receiver, okay, and they went for two-point conversions, or they get down to the red zone, they goal line type offense. They put him out there at the wide receiver position, and he would just run a kind of a little fade and post the guy up. I want to say Brian had 7, 8, 9 touchdowns his senior year as a wide receiver because nobody could stop him. He was just too big and strong and powerful. Punt returner. Picture that. Picture you going down trying to tackle Brian Urlacher. So he was a lot of fun to watch. So the Rocky Long years. And then Rocky, you know, as I've said at times about football, and it can be said for the program, the team you have. I compare it to like spokes on a wheel. UNM, you know, they've had that wheel perfectly aligned at times, but it's hard to keep it aligned. And the spokes on the wheel are, you know, the state legislature appropriating the money for you, the fans that come out and support you, the advertisers that support the program, the media, not selling your product for you, but understanding what you're trying to do and how it incorporates into, you know, the community and what we're all trying to do, and, you know, having fun with going out to the games and those kind of things. And so you can get these entities to come together for a period of time, but it's hard to sustain that. And I think that's one of the things that Rocky just never could, you know, come to grips with, that he just wanted it all to be there all the time. He wanted the money, the financing, he wanted the support from the administration, he wanted the student bodies to come out, the fans to come out, he wanted the media support. And at times you had the media support, maybe the fans, advertisers not so much because of the economy and these things, that it's just hard to keep that wheel in balance. And so I think that was part of the reason that Rocky decided he was going to go on to greener pastures, which turned out to be San Diego State. And I did see a rumor that he may be interested in the athletic director's job at UNM. We'll see if that happens. After Rocky, what happened after Rocky? Mike Locksley. And I remember thinking, okay, Mike Locksley has a lot of great things to say. He puts 3 digits up on the scoreboard. It's going to be this high power. We're going to throw it all over the place. It is going to be fantastic. He's known as a great recruiter for the D.C. area. He's going to get a lot of these kids from D.C. and Maryland and Virginia. They're going to come in, and this place is just going to rock. And I'll never forget, the very first play from scrimmage, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the very first play from scrimmage, quarterback turned around and handed it off to the running back, fullback, whatever it was, right up the gut for a half a yard. And I thought, that's that high-powered offense we've been looking forward to. I mean, all the build-up, all the hype, just drop back and throw it 70 yards down the field, and the fans would go, oh, great, you know. But that first play was like, maybe that was a sign of things to come. Locksley was a good guy. I liked him. He just wasn't ready to be a head coach, to manage a football program. And then they got Bob Davie. And Bob Davie came in, and in an era where everybody's throwing it around and they want to, throw it all over the place. Albuquerque's kind of quirky. I don't know if we can do that. It's going to be hard to get the athletes in here to maybe do that like everybody else is doing. We got to do something nobody else is doing. We're going to run the football. We're going to do this triple option thing, and we are going to stick to it. And so if I look at the Bob Davie time at UNM right now, it's that he said, this is what we're going to do, and we have stuck to it. We have done it. Guys have bought into it. We brought in players that can do that. We're going to run the football. And last year they ran the football better than anybody else in the country. They went 9-4. They won a bowl game. And now we'll see if that spokes on the wheel, the fans, if they're going to start coming out a little bit more, because as we all know, hard times economically. We'll see if the fans show up, because I've said before that I think that's going to be an early indicator for the UNM athletic department, how many fans show up, because they've been running a deficit 7 of the last 9 years, probably 8 of the last 10 years when it's all said and done at the end of this month and the physical year comes to an end. So people are looking at the football stadium and how many fans show up for these games. And hopefully after going 9-4 and having success, and I also think that fans are starting to see that the running game is exciting, it's entertaining. When you got guys like they've got that stable of running backs that can get to the house on any play, I think people are saying, the throwing it around the field, that's pretty cool, but what we got here, it is unique and a little bit quirky, but I think fans are